mine's written down.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Miss Spencer, and I'm a second grade teacher here at Elbert Palmer Elementary. The first question that I was asked was, what are some things that teachers do to inform teachers, parents during conferences? Some of the things that I do are go over the curriculum for the school year. I also let the students and the parents as well know, because I'm hoping that the parents will bring the students so they can hear and know that the parents and the teacher are on the same page as far as their growth is concerned. Is letting them know what the goals are throughout the school year. Along with that, I would like them to just be prepared for whatever it is that they have that they would like to ask me as well. So have questions prepared for anything that they would like to address.
Thank you. Any other thoughts?
I can say something. Hi, I'm Sabrina Priest. I am the kindergarten teacher here at Elbert Palmer. Something that we ask the parents to have some questions available, but also their concerns or how things are going. If they're really, something they're pleased or, want to share that's going good as well. What we would like to know is in kindergarten is if your child has had any preschool experience, things you can do to reinforce at home. We can give you suggestions on how to help your child improve in those areas. We talk about the curriculum, and also about if your child's absent or sick, send a note. Different things as far as how to help socially help your child get along, helping them be independent at home. Because a lot of times at school we ask them to be independent. So if they're independent at home, then that's going to help us. And also reading your child's agenda every night. We can keep communication open. Any questions or concerns, there's emails, there's phone calls, so, don't hesitate to call us too.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gary, the third grade teacher here at Elbert Palmer. Things that I typically discuss at a parent-teacher conference are the same as Ms. Spencer and Ms. Priest. I do like to go over as well my homework practices so that the parents know exactly what it is I'm looking for with homework. They also should know that all homework sent home is something that their students should be able to do without too much assistance, because it is just a revisit to what we learned in class that day. But basically everything that was already said before.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Lang?
Hi, I'm Rolanda Lang, and I'm a specialized support teacher for 4th and 5th grade here at Elbert Palmer. Now, one thing that I think is really important is that we need to make the parents feel welcome, because sometimes I think parents feel like we as teachers might feel like they don't know enough or they really don't know what's going on, but to make them feel like we're partners. And I think that's the first thing that we as teachers have to do. Make sure that we're saying, I want us to work together, so that the parent doesn't feel like, well, it's just the teacher's problem at school and it's my problem at home. That we are working as a team here, and that they also make sure that the child knows that we're a team, and that if I call mom's going to be right on it, because I think that's important. That's very important.
Okay, thank you. Going back to you, Ms. Spencer,
Okay.
what are some ways that, or some things that parents should share about their student at the beginning of the year?
I feel that parents should stress that school is very important, that they are getting an education not only for today but for their future and for information towards their children when they, have a family. It's very important that when parents come to conferences that they also have, how would I say this? I'm a little stuck here, so why don't we pass the camera?
No problem. Any other thoughts?
If they have any medical concerns or allergies, things in that nature, again, if they've been to preschool, if there are some family members that, we can call for extra support, because sometimes grandma and papa can be of service, as well, extended family. So I think sharing that, and if anything that they feel we might not know, think is important, it is. So
Yeah,
Whatever
like
you
if,
can share is wonderful.
if things are going on in the home, because then we might be able to understand why the child is maybe acting a certain way or not doing a certain thing. If the parents enlighten us, like let's say grandmom passed away or something, if the parents let us know that this has happened recently, that might be why little Johnny or whoever is upset or throwing things or just not being able to cope with it in a certain way. And then we can figure out, okay, what's the best attack or plan of attack to rectify this problem. But if parents don't make us aware of what's going on, or if something traumatic has happened to the child, then we're just assuming that they're just not doing it, or they're deciding that they want to do what they want to do. And so I think that's a way to keep the communication open, you know, as to like, tell me what things are going on. Like today I had a conference with a parent. Is there something going on? Is there something I'm missing here because something's not right?
Okay.
I would say that I send home a survey in the beginning of the year because I like to know the students' dislikes and likes, their strengths, their weaknesses. If the parent has any issues from last year that they still may be holding on to, if they have any concerns for their student for the year, how to make it, you know, as successful as possible while we're working together in this partnership, I would ask that they give that at the beginning of the year as well.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Now, are parent-teacher conferences a good place for parents to address concerns? And if so, how can a parent prepare for that, or what should they do if they have certain concerns and they're preparing for their students' upcoming parent-teacher conference?
Well, one thing they can do is write them down. If they have concerns, they should be able to come in and address them. In other words, they should be able to come in and outline, I have a concern that my child is in a such and such grade and they can't read, or they don't know this certain amount of fry words, or whatever the case may be. They don't know their timetables. Because at that point in time, then maybe we as a partnership can, you know, I might have some things that they can work on. I might be able to send home some cards. They can make flashcards. You know, we might be able to work together to rectify whatever the problem might be or whatever the parent's concern is. But for them to hold it in, we don't know what the concern is. So if they make it known, then maybe together we can work on that concern and it doesn't become a concern anymore.
And I always tell parents to put everything in writing. If you put it in writing and I can send it to the office, then you're proving that you have a valid point. And any point, as long as it's your point, it is a concern for us. Don't think anything too small or too large. Whatever you have a concern for, because that's my job, to give your child the best education that I can.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Well, as far as some concerns, sometimes there may be concerns for kindergartners that may want immediate attention. So sometimes they may or not share with us exactly what had happened or what, you know, happened dramatically through the day. So it's, you know, as a parent, we would offer that they, you know, let us know in their agenda or phone call us immediately. You know, you don't have to wait till a conference to share some information. Sometimes students may, you know, have gotten hurt on the playground, or something happened in the bathroom or in another special class. So if they let us know their concerns right away, then we can address it, you know, the best that we can.
Thank you. And, I'm sorry.
I'm in agreement with what everyone spoke just now. Also with that, I would ask that the parents, if they would come to the conference, be to the conference on time so that they can get all their concerns addressed. Sometimes if they're not here on time, then we run out of time and then we don't have time to take care of the issues that may be pertinent to them. So if they could arrive on time, that would be very good.
How much time is typically allotted for the conferences?
Approximately 15 minutes is allotted to each parent because there's so many parents and so many families.
Okay.
And we want to be able to address every need.
Okay. And what could a parent or should a parent do if they need additional time or if there's not enough time?
They can always schedule another appointment to meet with the parent.
Okay.
I actually have like an open door policy where parents are able to come in anytime basically. But overall, we have our lunchtime that we can schedule appointments, and then we also have at the end of the day, we can schedule appointments. We have like 20 minutes at the end of the day. We usually finish at 3 o'clock. At least that's my schedule, 3, and then the students leave at that time, and then I have 20 minutes after that that I can speak to parents.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I think that parents also should, if they can't make it to the parent-teacher conference, they should make some time to come in. It shouldn't always be a phone conference, because if I have data, like test data, that they need to look at where their children are weak and where they're strong, I can't show that over a phone. And I think that sometimes we allow them to have phone conferences, and sometimes you never see these parents. You never know what a child's parents look like. You may know what their voice sounds like on the phone. But I think that parents should understand that it's important, very important, that they need to come in at some point in time, even if they can't make the conference. Maybe call up and say, is there a time, a date and a time that's, good for both of us, that I can come in? Because I think at that point in time, that shows that the parent and the teacher both are interested in this child succeeding and doing well. But oftentimes, when parents just want phone conferences, sometimes it gets to be bad with phone conferences, because if they have other children, or sometimes they're carrying on other conversations, and you think to yourself, what's going on here? Are they talking to me or someone else? Or they have other children. And I think it needs to be a time where we're just focusing, myself and that person, on that child, not anything else that's going on. That's very important.
Okay. Thank you. And my last question is, for some families, students may have an IEP or a 504 plan. Is there anything different or anything additional that those parents should do when preparing for upcoming parent-teacher conferences?
Well, first off, they need to know the IEP. Most parents will come in to the IEP meeting and they don't know anything about the IEP or what it says. I think oftentimes that comes because IEPs are very, very hard to read if you don't know it. I mean, if I were a parent and I didn't know the lingo, it would be very hard, because sometimes you speak in acronyms and does a parent know what that stands for, IEP? Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. Do they even know what an IEP is, or what those letters stand for? So parents need to know what that IEP is, that it is a legal document, that people have to carry it out, because not everyone does right by children with IEPs. And that's just, and I'm speaking from the standpoint of, I have a granddaughter who has an IEP and she lives in Rhode Island, and the people were not following her IEP. Okay. But if it was left up to my daughter and her husband, they would have never known what to do till grandmom stepped in, because grandmom knows IEPs. I write them all the time. And they hurried up and did what they needed to do, because the next step was lawsuit or due process. And so the bottom line is, if a parent doesn't know their rights and don't know what to do, oftentimes they won't they won't stand up for their child, because they think that, they know better. But not everybody does the right thing. Mm-hmm. And not everybody is there for the good of the children, and we have to put it out there where it is. But parents need to be an advocate for their children. That's the very first thing that needs to happen on an IEP. Don't just leave it up to the people that are sitting around that table to say, oh yes, I'm following it, I'm doing what I need to do, I'm following their FBA, I'm doing this. And when you talk that stuff, does a parent know what an FBA is? Do they know their child even have one? Do they know whether this child's being pulled out for special ed services if they're in an inclusion class? Are they getting the amount of hours they're supposed to get? So there's a lot that goes along with it, that I think if some people knew, more children would get what they needed as far as special services and IEPs and what they need. They would.
Great points. Thank you. Any other thoughts?
I would just like to add that if they have any medical papers, that they would bring those papers with them so that they can have those to give to whoever's sitting around the table so that everything can be taken into account as they prepare that IEP.
At the IEP meeting?
The
Yes.
diagnosis, you're talking about the diagnosis.
Anything the doctor says.
Yeah, if the doctor
Documents.
says that your child has ADD or ADHD, we cannot take your word for it. You need proven medical
Exactly.
paperwork from your doctor's office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any medical diagnosis. 'cause
Yeah, we
there's,
need it.
taking a parent's word is good, and we, want you to understand that we believe you, but we, as the law, as Ms. Lang was saying, we have to have, proof, medical proof from the doctor. per se.
Right, because every parent's going to want their child to be in a small class somewhere. And if they think that, if I just tell them that he has ADD or ADHD, they'll just put him in a small class. No, it has to be from a doctor, and the doctor has to diagnose it. But then that's not the only piece
Right.
of the puzzle when you identify a child, because children, to get identified, there's a lot of things that have to happen. They have to be tested. There's lots of things that have to go on before a child is given an IEP. And then parents also need to be aware of what is their child's disability. Are they just disabled? Like, are they OHI, which is other health impairment, which is most children that suffer from ADD or ADHD, that's usually their diagnosis. What is their diagnosis on their IEP, and what does it mean? Because every diagnosis comes with how this child should be educated. And if the parent isn't aware of what that diagnosis that's right on the front of that IEP is, then how do they know whether their child's being serviced properly?
I just have one last thing. And if you feel that you need extra support, there are community services where there are parent advocates out there that can come with you to an IEP meeting that can, give you support and bring you to the meetings if you have transportation issues or, not able to make it because transportation concerns. But there are parent advocates out here that can help you with reading the document and anything that you may have concerns with.
Okay, thank you. Is that information typically shared with the parent, or does a parent need to request that information?
No, every parent who has a child with an IEP, when they come to the IEP meeting, they give them what's called the parent's rights and
Dr. Moody,
responsibilities.
please meet Ms. Courtney in room 207. Dr. Moody, please meet Ms.
A parent comes
Courtney
in,
room
they give them
207.
this
Thank you.
booklet. And one thing I was going to say to you, Midra, there's a booklet that the parents get. You might want to see if you could get that from our ED, May downstairs, and there's a number on the back. So if you want this perspective from people that are the professionals, they might be able to help you with this too.
Okay.
In other words, because sometimes parents might be more accepting if they're getting it from someone that they think is a professional in that area. So because there's numbers on the back that parents can call if they feel like they need an advocate, like Ms. Priest was saying. And it's a booklet that's called Parents' Rights and Responsibilities, and every parent that comes to an IEP meeting should be given that, because there's the last page of the IEP. The parent has to check yes or no whether they've received this stuff, and whether so many times I've seen parents just sit there and sign, and they don't read anything, and I think to myself, oh my God, you didn't read anything. We could be saying you need to owe us $1 million. And it's like, read before you sign.
Yeah, we're actually, Parent Information Center is actually listed in that booklet that you have.
That rights and responsibility book. Okay.
And,
That's why if you have some problems with reading yourself and as an adult, that's why a parent advocate is there to help you if you're having some problems with reading yourself as an adult. The parent advocate can also help you understand, this is what this is saying.
Yeah, and one of the
signing,
things-
as Ms. Lang said,
yeah.
before you read it, is really.
Because I see parents all the time. It's like, I want to get, you can tell that I just want to get out of here. And I think oftentimes it's because they don't understand what we're even talking about. And so they'll just sit there and sign, yes, yes, yes. but did you really receive the parents' rights and responsibilities? Did someone explain it to you? Do you have any questions? And I think oftentimes people don't have questions because they don't understand, and they're not going to sit there and say, I don't understand, because they don't want people to think that they're dumb or stupid or what have you. But it's not. If you're not knowledgeable, you're not knowledgeable. I mean, if I didn't work in this realm, I might not understand an IEP either. And I definitely wouldn't understand the lingo that we talk between all of us as teachers.
Right. Yeah, it's a very complex and it can be overwhelming and intimidating experience for families. And that's one of the things we do attend IEP meetings with families, but we can't attend all IEP meetings with families. So what we like to do is one of the standard things is if a parent is going to an IEP meeting for their first time, one of the things I'll suggest to them is don't sign it. You have 10 days.
Right.
Take some time. I'm a very reflective person. If I'm sitting there, I can't just make a decision off the cuff. I have to kind of take a step back and reflect on everything that was discussed. Do I have any questions? Let me read through it. Procedurally, or for the sake of time, sometimes it slows things down, but it's an attempt for parents to understand what it is that they have so they don't feel rushed into signing anything right then and there. You can take it home and come back the next day, or you can bring it back on Monday, but at least you now feel comfortable about, or a little more comfortable about what it is that you are signing. And the other thing is that an IEP is a working document. You might meet annually, but you can call a meeting at any time if you have concerns or if you felt that your child has met their goals. So I do thank you all for taking the time to share this information, this valuable information with families. Hopefully we could do something like this again. I think it might be very helpful and a useful learning tool for families to kind of get this information and maybe even bring some parents in and kind of have a discussion going back and forth. I don't know. So thank you all. I appreciate it. I really do.
Another thing you might want to do is, I think